This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Hi, my name is Igor Kafetz, and this is The List Building Lifestyle, the only podcast which delivers cutting-edge conversion strategies from the online trenches straight to your earbuds. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. I also invite you to grab a free copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. And now, once again, it's time to claim your list building lifestyle.
You are listening to List Building Lifestyle. Welcome back, List Builders, to another edition of the show. Here's the man that you all came here for, the guy that's taking you from location to location, so it feels like you've known him forever, Mr. Igor Kafetz.
Hey, Jonathan, are you a comic fan?
Yeah, well, I was more when I was a kid, but yeah, definitely into some DC and Marvel comics.
Oh, nice. Are you into the Fantastic Four?
I have watched the movies and read some of the comics, yeah.
Okay, did you like the last movie?
I actually did like it better than the one before it.
Oh, right, okay. Well, to be honest, I like the one with Jessica Alba much better than the one they've done recently.
Yeah.
But, the reason I bring this up is because when the last version, Fantastic Four movie came out, we actually went to see it, me, Dennis, and our girls. And, we thought the movie sucked. And we thought it sucked about 20 minutes in. And the funny part is that we sat through the entire movie anyway. I mean, although we didn't have to. Now, it got me thinking, why did we do it? And I started asking Dennis and my wife, etc., and they said the same thing. They said, well, we paid for the ticket. To which, of course, I'm thinking, wait a sec. That makes sense until you realize that you're not going to get your money back even if you don't watch. In other words, like whether you watch it or not, you're not getting your money back for the crappy movie that you've just seen. So why watch the crappy movie? Why waste 2 hours of your life on something you don't like? And turns out there's a psychological phenomena or behavior pattern or whatever called loss aversion, which explains exactly why people go to movies and, they hate it in 10 minutes and then they stick out for the rest of the movie in misery just because they paid for the ticket. Now, what does this have to do with anything, especially marketing? Well, in my opinion, in my humble yet accurate opinion, this really explains the shiny object syndrome. Think about it. I invest in product A, which does not satisfy my needs and doesn't solve my problem. But I've already invested in this idea of making money from home. My next move, get another program, and then another, and then another. And soon I'm I'm heavily invested into this whole idea of making money from home. And it didn't work for me. Let's just say a year has passed. So I've been investing for a year and nothing has worked. Now, logically, if we think logically, and remember, we discussed that human being is not a logical creature, but let's just say we are. Logically, I'm supposed to quit. I'm supposed to say, look, I tried 4 different things. It didn't work. I'm done. But the reality is, I'll keep investing. I'll keep investing again and again and again until I either run out of money or succeed. Now, some will call it perseverance. I will call it the shiny object syndrome, because oftentimes people invest in identical programs that don't work. They don't really see why they don't work, so they keep on making the same mistake over and over and over again. And, when I first learned about loss aversion, it finally made sense to me why we do that, why shiny object syndrome exists. And it's not because the gurus are evil. It's simply because the people are conditioned to behave this way, same way as, a casino player, someone who plays, blackjack, is going to be chasing their losses for a while until they actually run out of money. That's how people lose their houses and, stuff like that in the casino. It's real because we chase the loss. Have you ever noticed any behavior like that in your life?
Admission of guilt. May have done that before in some stock market stuff before I learned my lesson.
So, it really got me thinking. Is it worthy of an entire episode? Should we actually bring this to people's attention that this is why the shiny object syndrome happens? And can we do anything about it, helping you guys prevent it? Because in my opinion, all it takes is a tiny bit of self-awareness. and realizing, hey, wait a second. Am I investing into this next coaching program or a business opportunity because I am still chasing the initial loss? Or am I doing it because I really believe that this can change my life? Or am I doing it because I really believe I can finally market this? Is this any different from anything that I've invested in before? And these are some good questions. Now I realize this is going to make lots of gurus out there angry with me, kind
No
of,
kidding.
talking people out of investing into shiny objects. But, as somebody who connects with so many people who are members of several opportunities each and every day, and I'm not kidding, Jonathan, on average, Igor Solid's client is a member of at least 3 different opportunities they've invested in that they want to promote. And one of the most common questions we get is, which one should I promote? And when a new one comes out, we get emails saying, hey, this thing came out. You guys are the traffic agency, so you probably get lots of orders for, to promote it. How is that converting? So it's the same people that have been with other programs for years are constantly looking to make further and further and further purchases and investments in spite of not having been able to generate amazing results in the past.
It's like a study in addiction.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it in a way? Think about it. It's like cocaine. I mean, many people that I serve, they're addicted to business opportunities like junkies are addicted to cocaine, to crack cocaine, and they can't help it. And families are ruined because of that. I know one guy who's a truck driver whose wife left him the same day he invested in a coaching program with me.
Yikes.
He actually, I spoke to him on the phone. He invested with me, and then he called me the next day and he said, Igor, look, I hate to be a douchebag, but my family's well-being is at stake right now. My wife hasn't been returning my calls. She hasn't showed up at home, and she texted me saying that she's done because that was the last straw. Investing with you was the last straw. Nothing personal, man. You're a great guy, but I have to prove to her that I value our relationship more than I, value my pursuit of online money-making success. Can you please refund me? I mean, he was really nice about it. He was really cool about it. I refunded him, of course. But think about it, Jonathan. I mean, he obviously made so many investments before we met that this was just, the straw that broke the camel's back.
Where's the line though? Because I had, you said it was like 30 years before you started making money. Were you already married when you were doing that?
Oh no, I was just lucky to have a very supportive girlfriend at the time, and I just made it clear to her that if she will stand between me and my dream of never being poor again in my life, I will not hesitate to terminate the relationship. No, don't get me wrong, I didn't really say that, but my determination, I made it clear to her that if she wants to be with me, she will have to accept it. And I'm not going to let her starve or anything. I was still working 2 jobs at the same time. One to put food on the table, the other one to fund my business. But, I made it clear to her that my priority number one is that. It wasn't our relationship. It wasn't anything else. It wasn't personal fitness or well being. It was just to, figure out how to make money online so I can build my life. And she understood. She never argued. She understood. She never really supported, as in she didn't cheer for me or whatever, but she never got in the way either. So she remained neutral. She remained, she kept her distance and allowed me to do my thing. So I was really, really fortunate to have such a partner. But for a lot of people out there, and trust me, I speak to them every single day. This is no joke. The shiny object syndrome is for real. And I don't want to make it sound as if I'm talking about some sort of medical condition or anything like that, but it's definitely an issue that's keeping people back from success because I believe they're making the same mistake over and over and over again.
You said awareness was the key. So how do you become aware? How do you break out of that cycle?
Well, hopefully you listen to this podcast episode and you realize, hey, Igor is talking about me. I got to stop doing that. But as far as how do you break the cycle is through self-awareness. Is the moment you're able to distance yourself and look at your own behavior from a third-person view, you'll be able to say, okay, this behavior is incorrect. I got to stop doing that.
Give me a tip. How do I look at my behavior in a third-person view?
Oh, dude, we got to go into Buddhism and,
Yeah,
Hindu. Yeah. Okay, well, you asked for it. Basically, you want to quite literally document your own behavior and write about yourself in a third-person view. So rather than writing, I am buying this business opportunity, you write, Igor is buying this business opportunity. Rather than writing, I am angry, if you're describing your own emotions, you need to write down, I feel anger, or Igor feels anger. So you distance yourself from what's going on in your mind. And by doing so, you are able to see your own behavior in a different light. You ever heard of the saying, you can't see the frame? No, damn it.
Is it the forest through the trees?
Something like that. But I had a better version. It's one of my mentors. He shared this with me when I was running, through a really rough patch in my life, and he just, got on the call with me for like 10 minutes. He's like, solved the problem. Like, how come I did not see that for myself? And he said, well, when you're stuck in the frame, you can't see the picture.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so in other words, distancing yourself from the issue, and of course, with the shiny object syndrome, the issue is you. Distancing yourself from yourself, you're able to catch these, sabotaging behaviors, if you will. So now that's as far as self-awareness is concerned. If you want to investigate more into how to do that, I highly recommend reading more of Mark Manson, great self-help author, just published a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Great stuff. Yeah, amazing title, great book, one of the best self-help books I've ever read. But the fundamental belief that governs anyone who suffers from the shiny object syndrome is that this next program is going to be different, is that this next coaching is going to save me, is that basically the solution to all my problems lies outside of myself. So while this loss aversion effect keeps them investing, because they're trying to bridge the gap between what they've invested so far, right, and what they gained, the actual belief, as far as what they're hoping for, is that the answer to their prayers is outside of themselves. But it's not. It's never outside of you. It's always within, which means you got to really think hard and ask yourself, why am I investing? Why am I investing into this program? And if the answer is anything but because I know I can sign up a lot of people into it because it's, a great program, you should not invest in it. And side note, if that's the same answer you've got, you kind of figured out for all the other programs you invested, maybe you should not invest into it either. So it's getting a little bit confusing. I understand that. But here's the point. If you have invested in more than 3 or 4 coaching programs or business opportunities and nothing has worked, chances are the next program will not work either. What needs to change is you, your motivation, and your habits before you can invest into another program hoping that it will be any different.
It reminds me of something that Peter Drucker talks about in managing oneself. He advocates having a notebook, which he calls feedback analysis, where you write out any major decisions that you're making, which would be investing in an opportunity or another program or what you're going to promote. And then coming back, first you write down what you're going to do, what you expect the results to be, and then you come back and revisit that 18 months later to see how it lines up with what you thought it was going to be, so that you can start realizing whether or not you have great insight into what you're doing. But 18 months kind of a long time frame, but it kind of reminds me of what you said there, writing down your third person view of what's going on and taking a step outside of it to see whether or not that's actually really the solution that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's a really useful exercise, not only, with professional challenges, but also with personal ones, because we are often blindsided by our emotions, our fears, insecurities, and even excitement or the potential gain. So we often make mistakes due to the emotional nature of our decision-making process. And we spoke about this a couple episodes back, where we said that we got 2 brains. One is the emotional brain, the other one is logical. And what we, think is a logical decision oftentimes is not. So by kind of describing what we're doing or what we're trying to do or what we're hoping to do on paper from a third person view, as if you're like telling a narrative or whatever, like with an omni point of view, if you will, just telling a story about yourself to yourself, you will then be able to make a wiser decision regarding whether or not where you're headed is the right direction for you. And you'd be so. I mean, you don't have to wait 18 months, of course. That's a lot. Let's be honest. But even
Yeah.
if you allow it to sit there for 18 hours or maybe 1.8 hours, you'll find yourself reading, just reading these statements out loud and be like, that does not make any sense whatsoever. Like a lot of times I'll read what I wrote down a couple of months back or maybe even last week about the fears I had about, like for example, I got a couple of trips coming up. So every time I go on a trip, I'm worried about my business, totally tanking when I'm gone because I'm not going to be in control. That's just one of the fears that I got. So every single time I read it after I came back from the trip, it's kind of funny. It has no substance whatsoever, but in the moment, it was very heavy on me. And were I to act in a certain way due to that, make any sort of decisions based on what I felt in the moment, I would probably made some critical mistakes.
Now, I want to circle back to something just to get a little clarity. You got in the Fantastic Four movie, 10 minutes in, you knew you didn't like it, and maybe you should have left, but you didn't. Now, people investing into different opportunities, different coaching, different stuff like that, when they're getting into it, how do they quickly get out of it if it's not right and justify the money that they spent on it? Is there any way to do that, or can you give any advice?
That's a great question. Now, remember that I said they're members of 3 opportunities on average.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't get out. That's the weird part. They will invest a bunch of money into something and then they will move into something else. But they don't let go of the previous company or opportunity because they're heavily invested into it as well. So they're still hoping someday to somehow recover all the money they've invested in that other program which didn't work for them. Now, by the way, quick disclaimer, I'm not saying that whichever program you join which doesn't produce an income for you doesn't work. I'm sure this same program works for other people. It didn't work for you, whether because you didn't work it, which is like 99% of the time, or because the actual program didn't work for you personally. Whatever the case may be, you have to make that discernment on your own. But this loss aversion, people do hold on to their even poor investments no matter what. No matter what. This inability to let go of a mistake or what might be considered as a mistake is a big thing. And I felt it on my own skin when I invested about $20,000 with somebody into a business opportunity, but for the purpose of having them as my coach. But all I got in return was one Skype call, and then they stopped responding to me completely.
Yikes.
So I met this guy at a seminar, makes a great impression, like alpha, but turned out to be a total douchebag. It took me about a year to get over it. Took me about a year to get over this really bad investment, really bad judgment call, to take responsibility for making that investment, right? Because he didn't really make me. I made a decision to do it and to move on with my life. But most people cannot brag about letting go. They don't know how to do that. They weren't taught how to do that. They don't understand the value of doing that. So they end up holding on to a bad investment for years. 4 years. And over time, they not only have one bad investment, but they end up accumulating several bad investments.
Yikes.
And so they end up being invested to the tune of like 50 grand, if not more, within this industry. Zero results to show for it. And all sorts of trouble comes out, after that.
Wow. All right. So we're wrapping up here. Igor, do you have a tease for what's coming up next time?
Oh yeah, next time we're actually going to do some role playing. I have invited my good friend Devon Brown, somebody who I consider to be one of the better telesales people I know. The guy has just immense telephone sales experience, impressive communicator. He MCs lots of events in our industry, and he's basically like, as far as salesmanship and marketing, he's one of the people I've always admired. He was in the industry before me. When I stepped in, I was looking up to him. I still do. I consider him to be one of my dear friends and associates in this industry, Devon Brown. Basically, I invited him to talk about sales, to talk about how to close more sales. And what ended up happening, actually, is we ended up doing a role-playing thing where I was the prospect and he was the salesperson. So you can actually witness a real sales call in action next episode. Like real...
Wow.
actual sales call with objection handling, language patterns, scarcity, you name it. It's going to be freaking awesome.
Holy cow. Oh man, looking forward to that. So this is another episode of List Building Lifestyle in the can. We will be back in your earbuds next time.
Thank you for listening to the List Building Lifestyle. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to never miss an episode. Because who knows, just one conversion tactic we share on the show might double your list and double your business. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. And don't forget to claim your complimentary copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. This is Igor Kafetz, and until next time we talk, have a good one.
This is the podcastfactory.com.